a week I get hit by those millennials, and the millennials brought up. So give me a T-shirt, and so they brought this Washington Post piece to me about Jeff Bezos and not paying taxes somehow. Amazon, they say, paid no federal taxes on $11.2 billion in profits last year. Institute for Taxation in Economic Policy, the ITEP, is a progressive think tank. Well, okay, so they say thanks to a variety of tax credits and significant tax break available on pay handed out in the form of company stock, Amazon somehow got a great tax rebate. However, Amazon pays all the taxes we are required to pay in the U.S. and every country where we operate, including paying $2.6 billion in corporation tax and reporting $3.4 billion in tax expense over the last 3 years, said an Amazon spokesperson Jody Seth. Matthew Gardner from ITEP, the progressive think tank, says it's a failure of American tax policy. Somehow he thinks that pay given out in the form of stock options is a tax loophole.
Yes, it is.
So I had to ask, as this communist said they had a problem that Amazon didn't pay these taxes. I said, do you believe the worker has a right to the fruit of his labor? And we know that the commie has to say yes. And then I said, does Jeff Bezos have the rights to the fruit of his labor? Which made a hesitation happen. And do you believe, commies out there, that the worker has the right to bargain for compensation of his choice, including like the choice to take company stock instead of monetary payment? So see, the liberal, socialist, anti-consumerists want a damn Amazon out there for doing a consensual agreement with their employees to take stock. And because the feds can't get their hands on the money, they're saying that somehow that's costing the feds. And my point about moral superiority is that indeed the worker has the rights to the fruit of his labor.
Well, you're going to be responsible for that guy's death if you gave him aneurysm.
Last summer I was up at the Capitol, middle of summer, it was an interim study, and the Democrat House Leader, Steve Copeland, and I talked one-on-one, and I said, yeah, you'd probably do well to describe me as a Tea Party Republican. And he looked at me, he says, when the Tea Party first started, there were just as many Democrats part of it. And I said, oh, tell me more. He says, the Tea Party movement was all about bailouts for too big to fail companies, and the mom and pops businesses got nothing. And that's what I'm saying is exactly what's going on here.
Yeah.
Amazon, GE, Goldman Sachs, they're all reaping benefits that the mom and pop shops and the family-owned businesses, we don't have those.
Well, they do a good job siloing us. And who are they? They are the establishment, which is the true enemy of the American people. It's not left or right. It's the establishment of both parties.
Yeah.
We see that they oppose our president. They oppose us. And I think what they did brilliantly here, and it largely is the Democratic Party. I mean, it really is. It's probably the bulk of it. But there are plenty of rhinos giving them cover. And what they did was they saw a true bipartisan movement like the Tea Party, and they were able just to label it, well, they went through the cycle. It's almost like the cycle of guilt. They said it didn't exist at first. Then it went from not existing to they were Republican Party operatives. And then it went from that to, oh, well, it's just isolated. And then when it clearly wasn't isolated, oh, they're just a bunch of far-right nuts.
Yeah.
And that's where it ended. They just and they marketed that. And they declared it to be so, and then it was so. If you're one of these people that gets all of your information from the dead legacy media, but it really is, and they're doing it today. You know how they're doing it today? It just came to me.
Yeah.
What you're saying, they're calling the Trump movement, which is taking in a historic number of Democrats from Latinos and blacks, and even Jews are shifting. And Roman Catholics, although that's been happening over multiple administrations, not just Trump, they've been moving right, some. They're calling it populism. as a dirty word. But really, it's bipartisanship. Really, it's just people clamoring for transparency and equity.
Well, it's Americanism.
Americanism.
Because we're still a constitutional republic, and there's enough people out there that what I'm seeing with Trump is not what I saw with G.W. Bush, and that was complacency. I see the desire for more transparency and more liberty now, when under Bush it was war, clamp down, police state,
Secret courts.
so right tyranny, the tyranny from the right instead of the left so much.
And Barack Obama said, I love that.
And
Well,
that's not
keep in
happening
mind,
now.
going all the way back to G.W.'s grandfather, Prescott Bush, the Bush family has been a family of D.C. establishment.
Oh yeah.
In the East Coast. And that's why you don't see that ability, that willingness to take on the swamp.
Right.
Because they are
They are
part of
the
that swamp, yes.
If you're just joining us, you're watching 3D Politics every Monday, 7 p.m. right here on Facebook. I've got David Van, SoonerPolitics.org, David Oldham, ConstitutionalGrounds.com, David D'Ambroso, it's Dave D'Ambroso on Facebook. I'm Tom E. McKay on Twitter. So one of the things that I've learned, but arguing with the millennial, the people I call the millennial aliens, they have no idea that there's a difference between income tax and payroll tax.
Yeah.
They don't read for meaning, they read for buzzwords. And so they have no idea that the federal government taxes different types of incomes at different types of rates.
Yes.
They have no idea that Mr. Bezos doesn't own Amazon. They don't know that he doesn't, just because he's the CEO doesn't mean he doesn't, they think that he owns it. And if Amazon makes $50 billion, that Bezos made $50 million. They have no idea that millions of people are invested around the nation in small quantities to make this whole publicly traded company available. The public schools have once again failed us in teaching the children about basic economic structure, basic capitalism. It's sickening. We've waited 50 years in my lifetime just for the Great Society to come around. Well, we've waited 150 years for the public schools to educate everybody, because, you know, the educated public is going to do us so much better. Well,
They actually have. They have met their goals.
Yeah.
They have.
Thank
They were
you.
started to be a socialist promoting entity, and that's exactly what they have
Well,
become.
literally, they tell you one of the reasons you have to send your kids to school is for socialization. There's a little bit of
I
entendre
should
there.
have taken them at their word. So one of the things I had to point out, because these millennials, they read the Washington Post article for buzzwords, and then they say to their friends, Amazon didn't pay any federal taxes. Well, that's suggesting that the publicly traded company Amazon did not compensate the feds for the payroll taxes of 647,500 employees. I dare any of you to hire over 500,000 people and don't pay the feds.
Challenge
It's just-
accepted.
See, simply won't happen if it does on a job. And so also just the income tax alone, and I just averaged this out, $7 billion per year just through personal income tax because Jeff Bezos employed them. This is the amazing. So, but the youth of today, they argue that the corporations aren't paying their fair share. Okay, when the corporations are paying all of the fair share.
Well, why is leftism the ideology of youth? Probably two reasons. One, it's infantile. It is all about sound bites and reducing very complex things down to ridiculously non-complex sort of
Simplistic.
Just
trite platitudes.
Yes.
Not paying their fair share. What does that even mean? Doesn't necessarily mean anything. And two, it is sort of where you would arrive when you first start thinking about these issues. Well, why is it that this guy has a lot and some other people don't have very much? Well, could it be that he's just cheated them all, right? That seems to be like the simplest sort of conclusion you could come to.
Well, let me say this. 2 months ago, I went to my class 40-year reunion. Okay, now you know about my age, right? Several
40.
of my classmates had already retired as teachers. Now, I've got several years left before I get to cash in, but the teachers have a set system. And yes, it is socialism. Why would it benefit them to educate the next generation of voters just what kind of scam they have going?
Oh.
They're not motivated to explain it, to truly educate the children.
No.
They're not.
No, my parents were both teachers, and they always voted my mother's paycheck.
Yeah.
Because she worked for the public schools.
Yeah,
So they
that's
always voted, even when it was shooting themselves in the foot because they didn't get it.
Mhm.
But the thing was, they always voted directly her paycheck because that was the biggest bulk of the money.
Okay.
And so they didn't really care what happened to everybody else in the whole
Both
process.
of my parents worked in public education, and they just had a greater moral constitution because they
Ooh,
they
you
voted.
know you.
They voted.
He called out your folks,
They
told
voted
them.
conservative.
I called out my folks.
Well, and that's partially true. I think my dad. I was busy in 2008. They voted for Obama, but my dad did something very brave and stunning. He said, "I'm no good at voting. I voted for Carter and I voted for Obama, so I'm going to turn in my voter registration card and not vote again because I'm clearly not very responsible voting." But I did. I got them to vote for Trump. So
I quit betting on football for the same reason.
Yeah. No, it's a real problem. It used to be the state of Virginia was considered a conservative state. And then for many of the last several decades, it was a purple state, a swing state. It is now a solidly leftist state. And I'll tell you why. Because the federal government has grown so huge. The DC area is now overwhelmingly the population base of Virginia. And you know what's the highest income city in America per person?
let me guess. One that doesn't make anything.
Is DC.
Oh.
And what is their product? Government.
Political influence.
They have fattened and enriched themselves in the DC area on our backs. And you know what? We stood by and did nothing. And I'll say this, the Republican Party let it happen.
Well, we watched those hearings and those
Yeah.
bureaucrats, those State Department bureaucrats going on. A lot of those people that were testifying are making a couple $100,000. They're making more than our congressmen and senators, and they're idiots.
Yeah.
I mean,
Arrogant idiots.
Yes, I mean it's just absolutely asinine to think that there's something legitimate about the whole thing.
Typically, your idiots are arrogant. It's the whole Dunning-Kruger thing,
Yeah.
which you should Google.